pull the clip up one more time. Rewind it. Not the caption, not the reaction pane. The actual 6 seconds of Superior with 2 fingers in his mouth, walking up on a grown man on a couch, and executing what any playground in America would clock as a textbook wet willy. That's the frame. That's where this whole thing lives. A toddler, a rapper, a pregnancy about to drop, and a whole other household across town lip-syncing a Cardi B verse she doesn't know the words to. Somewhere in that triangle is the reason your For You page won't let the story die. Stay with it. The part that's actually loud is buried 3 clicks under the noise. Real quick before we open the folder. If you keep landing on breakdowns that read the paper instead of reading the room, you already know what to do with the like button, the bell, the whole thing. Lock in. Here's the situation as it currently sits, no dressing. Blueface, legal name Johnathan Michael Porter, is in a live cohabitation with Nevaeh Akira, who is publicly reported to be days out from delivering a child he has repeatedly said he wants a DNA test on. Her son from a prior relationship, Superior, is the toddler in the clips currently circulating. Meanwhile, Jaidyn Alexis, mother of Blueface's older 2 children Javaughn and Journey, dropped a clip lip-syncing Cardi B as Pretty and Petty, missed multiple lines, and framed it, at least by comment section consensus, as a shot at Nevaeh. That's the surface. That's what the timeline is fighting about right now. Reporting on Blueface's ongoing legal picture is well documented at AP News and Rolling Stone. One more name belongs in the brief before we move, because she's going to matter later and she matters now. Carlissa Saffold Harvey, Blueface's mother, a documented and recurring participant in every previous cycle of his family's public arc. And one more date belongs next to her name, February 23, 2026, the day this pregnancy stopped being rumor and became confirmed reporting, when the couple revealed positive tests on a live stream and Complex wrote it up. Keep both of those in your pocket. The brief gave you the triangle. The triangle has a 4th point, and the 4th point has a calendar. Also, because this desk doesn't pretend the folder is cleaner than it is, part of what's circulating about this story right now lives on aggregation pages and fan accounts that don't hold up to a second click. The wet willy clip, the voice note, the lip sync, those circulate as screen-recorded reposts, which means the provenance chain on every one of them runs through at least one account that isn't the original poster. That doesn't make them fake. It makes them second-generation paper, and second-generation paper gets graded differently on this desk. You'll see the grades as we go. Now let's actually open the folder. The first thing that jumps off the page, and this is the piece nobody's isolating, is that the wet willy clip is not the flex people are treating it as. It's a tell. A 4-year-old doesn't invent a wet willy. A 4-year-old imitates a wet willy. Which means somewhere in the last stretch of that household's runtime, an adult demonstrated one, in front of him, on camera or off, and it registered as normal enough for him to replay it on a man twice his size without flinching. And the man twice his size, Blueface, laughed. He didn't correct it. He didn't redirect it. He played the bit back. That's the paper. Everything else is commentary. Let's sit inside that frame for one more beat, because there's a second tell riding inside the first one. The wet willy isn't just imitation. It's imitation aimed upward. Superior didn't rehearse that move on a sibling, a cousin, a kid his own height. He walked it up to the largest adult in the room, on camera, in front of an audience he clearly understands is there. That's not just learned behavior. That's learned behavior with learned staging. Somewhere in that household's runtime, the lesson he absorbed wasn't only this is a funny thing fingers do. It was this is a funny thing fingers do when the phone is out. 2 lessons. 1 clip. The first lesson is parenting. The second lesson is production. And the adult response deserves its own second look, too. Not the laugh. The laugh is the part everybody caught. The part worth isolating is the absence around the laugh. No adult voice off camera redirects him. No hand enters the frame from the person holding the phone. Whoever was filming, and somebody was filming, that part is self-evident from the footage, made the same choice Blueface made. Let it run. 2 adults minimum in that room, by simple arithmetic of who's on screen and who's behind the lens, and both of them chose the same thing. That's not one man's parenting register. That's a household production standard. Hold that phrase. It's going to do work later. Rewind a beat. Because if you've been tracking this the way we have, you know Blueface public parenting arc has been documented in real time across XXL and Hip Hop DX, and the through line in that reporting is not the disrespect, it's the inconsistency. Blueface with Javaughn is one register. Blueface with Superior is a different register entirely. And that inconsistency is going to matter when the family court paper eventually catches up to the internet paper, which, based on Blueface active probation status per Los Angeles Superior Court records, it's going to. Hold on. Let me reread that last part because I want to be honest about it. Blueface current custodial status regarding Javaughn and Journey has not been fully adjudicated in public filings. What's been reported is that Jaidyn Alexis has had primary physical custody through most of 2024 and into 2025, and that Blueface incarceration and subsequent release under supervision has structurally limited his visitation. Reported, not confirmed line by line. But the pattern reads clean. The parent he's currently posting with is not the parent of the children the internet keeps asking about. Here's where the legal layer earns its own paragraph, because the probation piece is firmer than the custody piece and the two keep getting blurred together in the comments. What's documented? In October 2023, a Las Vegas judge sentenced Porter to up to 3 years of probation with a suspended 2 to 5 year prison sentence after a July 2023 plea on charges connected to the 2022 strip club shooting. He later served time in California on probation violations, with Nevada records listing a parole-eligible date of December 2025, and he has since been released, with the strip ban lifted. That's the firm ground. Everything else, visitation schedules, custody percentages, who's allowed where, is fog, and this desk treats it as fog. Now notice what the firm ground actually means for the couch clip, because this is the part nobody's laying next to it. A man on a suspended sentence lives under different physics than everybody else in the content economy. For most creators, a bad clip costs engagement. For a man with 2 to 5 years hanging in suspension, the wrong frame at the wrong moment, not this frame. To be clear, nothing in this clip touches that, is the kind of paper that travels further than the For You page. Probation officers have internet connections. That's not a prediction and it's not a threat. It's a structural fact about the difference between Blueface risk profile and every other rapper playing the same content game, and it reframes every he doesn't care how this looks take in the comments. He can't afford not to care. The behavior says he doesn't. That gap between what the paper demands and what the camera shows is the actual story engine of this entire arc, and it runs underneath every clip we're about to open. And one honest hedge before we move on. Because this desk doesn't sandy edges off its own uncertainty, there is no public evidence that any family court has seen, requested, or weighed a single frame of this footage. The family court paper catches up to the internet paper line is a trajectory read, not a filed document. If it turns out no judge ever looks at any of this, the analysis still stands, because the audience is the other court, and that one is already in session. But you're owed the difference between those two courts, and there it is. Okay, past the folder. Nevaeh Akira released a statement, voice note style, direct to camera, no filter, that reads, and I'm quoting her exactly here, I don't have no plan to leave. I'm okay with being with him. I have my fun. I'm going to keep my little family. My son loves John so much and I love him too. And here we are about to have a baby this month. That's her words. She said them out loud. She put them on the internet. No matter how many comment threads want to read it as coercion or hostage energy. She said she's staying. On record, the date on that clip circulating puts it inside the last 72 hours per aggregation at HotNewHipHop. Listen to the architecture of that statement one more time, because it's built in a very specific order, and the order is information. She doesn't open with love. She opens with logistics. I don't have no plan to leave. The first thing out of her mouth is the answer to the internet's question, not the answer to her own life. Then comes the justification layer. I'm okay with being with him. I have my fun. Then the asset declaration. I'm going to keep my little family. Then the emotional exhibit. My son loves John so much and I love him too. And then, last, almost an afterthought, the baby. The actual news of the household lands in the final sentence. Read that structure as a document. The statement isn't a love letter, it's a rebuttal with a love letter attached. She's answering the comment section in order of a comment section's priorities, and the baby, the thing that's actually about to change everything, gets the least airtime. That's not an accident of phrasing. That's a woman who knows exactly which accusations she's responding to and in what rank. And grade the receipt itself honestly, because this desk grades everything. The words are hers, her voice, her camera, her account's orbit. We don't know what was said in the room before the record button. We don't know how many takes exist. And we don't know whether about to have a baby this month was her framing or a line she'd heard so often it became hers. None of that makes the statement false. It makes the statement a performance of intent rather than a window into it. And performances of intent are still evidence. They're just evidence of what someone once believed, not necessarily of what they believe. The distinction matters because everything the comments are fighting about lives exactly in that gap. There's also a date collision sitting underneath the voice note that nobody's surfaced. Complex's write-up of the pregnancy confirmation noted that the announcement came shortly after Blueface had publicly claimed he'd cut her from the roster. Sit those two public artifacts next to each other, a man announcing she's off the team, then a woman announcing she's keeping the family, with a pregnancy reveal in between. Whatever that sequence is, reconciliation, negotiation, content choreography, it happened in public, on the record, in that order. The comments are treating the voice note as the start of the story. The paper says it's at least the third chapter. Then Blueface responded, on camera, right next to her, with a line that half the comments are laughing at and half the comments are flinching at. It's my stupid-ass dumb-ass girlfriend. She laughed. He said, that's why I love you. She laughed again. That happened. That's not spin. That's the tape. Whether you read it as a bit between two people who talk to each other like that in private, or you read it as a public performance of dominance for engagement, the paper is the same paper. Both reads have to sit next to each other on the table. Jaidyn Alexis's clip, the Cardi B lip sync, is where it gets interesting for a very specific reason. The song is pretty and petty. The line she's aiming at, based on the punch-in and the finger point, is, you want to beef with me, are you sure? Except she doesn't land the surrounding bars. She misses the accept me cause your boy just a big lapdog line. She misses be a Labrador. She's punching the shot and missing the setup. And if you've watched enough of these lip-sync as shade clips move through hip-hop internet, and Complex has been documenting how this specific Cardi song has been weaponized in exactly this way since its release, you know that missing the setup is the tell. You didn't rehearse. You didn't sit with the lyric. You saw the line, you clipped the moment, you posted. That's reactive. That's not a strategy. That's a feeling with a phone. And a feeling with a phone is a very different thing from a beef. That distinction is where everyone in the comment section is currently getting lost. Here's the mechanical piece underneath the lip sync that turns it from gossip into paper. Pretty and Petty isn't a random audio. It's a track off Cardi's Am I the Drama era, a song whose entire public life has been as a vehicle for aimed energy. When a creator picks that audio, they are not picking a vibe, they are picking a weapon that's already been test-fired by everyone who used it before them. The audio carries its own context the way a rented billboard carries the last advertiser's phone number. Jaidyn didn't have to write a single word to say something specific. The song says it, the moment says it, and her job was only to aim. Which she did. The finger point is the one thing she executed cleanly. Think about that. The aim was rehearsed even if the bars weren't. Now the timing math, because the calendar is doing quiet work here too. The pregnancy was confirmed publicly on February 23rd. Count forward from a February confirmation to an about to have a baby this month voice note, and the lip sync lands inside the final week's window of a 9-month arc that the entire internet has been watching since winter. Jaidyn has had roughly 6 months of public runway to post anything, about anything, at any time. The clip arrives now. Not in March, when the announcement was fresh and a response would have read as immediate. Not in June, when it would have read as random. Now, inside the delivery window, when the algorithm's appetite for this household is at its annual peak and every post from any member of the triangle gets amplified by default. That's either the worst impulse control in the content economy or the best instinct in it, and honestly, hold on, let me actually think about which one. It's probably both, because in this economy they're the same skill. Zoom in tighter. Watch the punctuation of the moment. Nevaeh says on camera, not you're going to say that I talk to him crazy. He literally talks to me bad. That's a defense. That's a defense she felt the need to publish. which means the accusation reached her, which means somebody in her ecosystem, comments, DMs, group chats, was already framing her as the aggressor in the household. Her going on camera to flip that framing tells you everything about who she thinks the audience is. She's not talking to Blueface. She's talking past him, to the internet, over his shoulder, while he sits 3 feet away laughing about it. Read the geometry of that. That's not a couple. That's 2 people co-producing a broadcast. Somebody in the comments has to know, because every search we ran on it came back thin, what the actual custodial arrangement is for Superior's biological father. Because that's the missing document in this entire arc. Superior didn't spawn from nothing. There's a father. There's a history. There's a set of legal expectations about a child being on camera with a man who has an open probationary situation. Drop the name in the comments if you know it, because until that piece surfaces, half the read on this is guessing. And while that question hangs, let's be honest about why it hangs, because it's not just that the answer is hard to find. It's that the answer is legally quiet by design. Custody arrangements involving minors aren't public performance. They are court-sealed or court-adjacent documents in most jurisdictions, and a biological father who has never sought the spotlight is under zero obligation to issue a statement for the internet's folder. The absence of that document isn't a hole in the paper. It's the one piece of this entire story that is functioning the way the system intends, a child's legal business staying a child's legal business. Everybody else in this frame has volunteered their paperwork to the timeline. The one man who hasn't is, structurally, the most responsible adult in the story, and we don't even know his name. Sit with the irony of that for a second, because I had to. There's a second absence worth cataloging next to that one, and it's Nevaeh's own archive. The comment bait above asks what Superior's setup was before this household, and the honest answer is that the pre-Blueface portion of her posting history, the stretch that would show the child's earlier register, is thin in circulation compared to the current era. Whether that's deletion, private accounts, or just the algorithm's bias toward recent heat, this desk can't say. But the effect is the same regardless of cause. The public record of that child begins, for all practical purposes, inside this household. His documented childhood starts at the point of maximum exposure. When the long-tail paragraph lands later in this script, and it lands hard, remember that the archive problem isn't only about what will exist in 10 years. It's also about what already doesn't exist now. The before pictures are missing and the during pictures are permanent. That asymmetry is its own receipt. Now, the money frame, because we don't leave a case open without checking the paper. Blueface income sources in 2025 have been publicly reported to include OnlyFans revenue, documented via his own posts and aggregated at the Neighborhood Talk, residuals from his catalog including Thoshiana, which per BMI's public repertoire search still generates monthly performance royalties, and appearance fees from club dates that resumed post-release. That's the surface income. What isn't on the surface is his publishing situation post-cash money split, and whether Jaidyn Alexis's own music career, which he executive produced portions of, is generating splits that flow back through his LLC structure. Trademark filings under his given name and stage name are searchable at USPTO tests and show a pattern of filings clustered around 2019 and 2022, nothing new in the last 12 months. That gap matters. That's a business that isn't building. That's a business that's harvesting. Grade that money paragraph the way this desk grades everything, because it's a mixed bag and you deserve to know which parts are load-bearing. Thoshiana generating performance royalties. Solid. That's how publishing works. A hit catalog earns while its owner sleeps, and BMI's repertoire is a real public database. Club appearances resuming post-release, consistent with the documented strip ban lift and his return to public life. The OnlyFans revenue figures. That's the softest number in the folder. Because the only source for what a creator earns on that platform is the creator, and creators post earnings the way fishermen post fish. Treat every OnlyFans figure you've ever seen attached to this household as self-reported until a tax filing says otherwise. Now the structural point the money paragraph circles but doesn't quite land, so let me land it. A harvesting business has a very specific relationship with content. It needs attention more than it needs product. A building business can go quiet. Quiet is what building looks like from outside. A harvesting business cannot go quiet, because quiet is death when your revenue is residual plus appearance fee. The appearance fee is priced off heat. Heat is manufactured off content. Content, in this household, is manufactured off the family itself. That's the full circuit, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. The wet willy clip and the voice note and the lip sync aren't distractions from Blueface business model. They are the business model wearing the family's clothes. And before the comments accuse this desk of cynicism, no. Cynicism would be saying they don't love each other. This is saying something colder and more useful. Love or no love, the economics run the same either way. The circuit doesn't check anybody's feelings before it clears the check. One more thread on the business side, and it's the thread nobody pulls, Jaidyn's own catalog. The original paragraph raised it as an open question, splits, executive production, LLC flow-through. And the open question is actually the answer to a different question the comments keep asking, which is why doesn't she just move on? Set the emotion aside and look at the architecture. If any portion of her creative output is entangled with his business structure, and the original script flag that is plausible but unverified, and it stays unverified here, then moving on isn't just an emotional decision, it's a financial unwinding. People stay adjacent to complicated situations for complicated reasons, and money is the most documented complicated reason in the entire history of the music business. That's not a claim about her. It's a claim about the shape of the incentive she's standing inside. The incentive has a gravity. Watch how nobody in this story travels in a straight line and ask what they're orbiting. Which brings us to why the household configuration matters beyond the drama. If the business isn't building, if the flow is residual and appearance fee dependent, then the content is the product, and Superior on the couch, and Nevaeh on the voice note, and Jaidyn on the lip sync, and Chrisine Rock and Chrisine Jr. one timeline over, all of that is inventory. All of it is a feed. That's not a moral judgment. That's a P&L observation. Every clip that trends is a check that clears, in some form, somewhere down the chain, whether directly through platform monetization or indirectly through the appearance fee ladder that trending keeps rung. Now the counter read, because it needs to sit here honestly. Somebody's going to say, reasonably, that reading it as a P&L strips the humanity out of a real family situation. That Nevaeh loves this man, that Superior is genuinely attached, that Jaidyn is a real mother processing a real hurt in real time, that Blueface himself may be a person who is working through something the internet doesn't have the paper on. And that read isn't wrong. It's not the read we lean toward, but it's not wrong. The reason we don't lean there is that the participants are the ones publishing the frames. Nobody is dragging Nevaeh in front of a camera to make the I'm staying statement. Nobody is holding Jaidyn's phone up while she picks the wrong Cardi bar. These are broadcast decisions. And once you're broadcasting, you don't get to also claim the privacy that would make the compassionate read the default one. That's the trade. There's a third read that neither the P&L frame nor the compassionate frame covers, and it's the one the third camp, the team neither crowd, is groping toward without quite naming. Both of the existing reads assume the participants understand the machine they're inside. The cynical read says they're running the machine. The compassionate read says the machine is incidental to their real lives. But there's a documented third possibility that fits the paper better than either. They're inside the machine and they can't see its edges, because the machine is also their house. When your relationship, your income, your audience, and your identity all run through the same camera, you lose the ability to tell a genuine moment from a produced one, not from the outside, from the inside. The stupid-ass dumb-ass exchange reads like two people who genuinely talk that way and genuinely know the camera's there and genuinely can no longer separate those two facts. That's not cynicism and it's not naivety. That's the actual documented condition of the creator era, applied to a household with a suspended prison sentence in one drawer and a due date in the other. And one fairness note that this desk insists on, because the counter-read deserves to be Steelmaned at full strength, not at half. Everything we've graded as performance could also be graded as coping. A woman publishing a statement about staying might be managing the only variable she controls, the narrative, in a situation where she controls very little else. A mother posting a trend audio clip might be reaching for the only lever that reliably moves her ex's attention. Coping and strategy are not opposites. In households under this kind of observation, they are frequently the same act wearing two names. The paper can't tell you which name applies on any given Tuesday. What the paper can tell you And what this whole folder actually proves is that the distinction stopped mattering the moment the audience became the family's fourth resident. Look at Blueface's hand in the Wet Willy clip. Watch where it goes. It doesn't go to Superior's arm to gently redirect. It doesn't go up to his own face to check the offending finger. It goes to Superior's ribs. He turns the interaction into a tickle. He rewards the escalation. That's a specific parenting choice made in real time, and it's the same choice you'd see a young uncle make, not a father. That's the tell. The register is uncle, not father. Which lines up with, hold on, let me pull this back, which lines up with the reporting from the Shade Room on how Blueface has historically framed his older children in captions, my lil homies, my bros, versus how he frames Superior, son, my boy. He's using more father-coded language on the child that isn't biologically his than is used on the two that are. That's a data point. Do with it what you will. Fourth magnifier, the behavioral lens, and it's pointed at the audience for once instead of the family. Run the phrase Superior Wet Willy through your own memory of this week. A 4-year-old's name and a playground prank, fused into a searchable unit, trending inside hours. Now ask the uncomfortable question, who benefits from that fusion? Not the child. A child gains nothing from searchability. Not the prank. It's 6 seconds of nothing. The benefit accrues to the household's content economy and to the aggregation layer that moneizes the outrage about it. The comments section spent 2 days performing concern about that child's environment, and the performing of concern is what made the clip worth more. Every "this is so sad" comment is a view. Every view is a rung on the appearance fee ladder. The audience isn't watching the machine. The audience is a paid component of it, and the pay is the feeling of being better than the people on the couch. This desk includes itself in that indictment. By the way, we're all in the supply chain. Second magnifier, Jaidyn's lip sync. Pause it on the frame where she mouths, "You want to beef with me." Look at her eyes. They are not on the camera. They're on the phone below the camera. She's reading. She didn't memorize the line. She read it live, which is why she missed the setup. She was waiting for the punch to come back around on the screen. That's a person who saw the audio was trending, opened the app, and clicked record. That's not a diss. That's a trend participation with a target attached. And if the target is Nevaeh, and the timing, 4 days before Nevaeh is publicly expected to deliver, is what the timing is, then the audience reading of it as escalation isn't crazy. It's just probably reading more strategy into it than actually got put in. Fifth magnifier, the digital lens, and it belongs to Jaidyn's public posture outside the clip. In June, at Journey's preschool graduation, she told BCK Online, "My biggest accomplishment in life is my kids. Thank you for making me a mom." Line that artifact up against the lip sync. Same woman, same summer, 2 completely different broadcast registers. The graduation post is mother-coded, camera on the child, 0 aimed energy. The lip sync is combat-coded, camera on self, aimed energy with the safety off. Neither one is fake. That's the point. The modern co-parenting broadcast isn't a single character, it's a wardrobe, and the audience keeps insisting on seeing only the outfit from the last clip. The graduation post got a fraction of the Wet Willy's traction, a fraction of the lip sync's traction. The machine prices combat over competence every single time. And then the comments ask why these families keep producing combat. The market answered that question years ago. Nobody liked the answer, so everybody keeps asking. Third magnifier, Nevaeh's phrasing. She said, "If I'm slow, I'm the slowest." She's echoing Blueface language for her back to him, on camera, and smiling while she does it. That's linguistic accommodation. That's a pattern seen across long-term relationships where one partner adopts the framing the other uses about them as a coping mechanism. Take the insult, wear it, diffuse it. It's not empowerment and it's not victimhood. It's a survival grammar. That's a pattern read. Sixth magnifier, the audio lens, the one nobody's used yet, pointed at the voice note itself. Not the words, the sound of the words. Listen to where her energy sits across the statement. It doesn't rise on "I love him." It doesn't rise on "the baby." It rises, the pace quickens, the phrasing sharpens, on the rebuttal portions, the "not your" moments, the parts addressed to the audience. The emotional peak of a statement supposedly about her family is aimed at strangers. Compare it to any documented interview audio of a person announcing happy news unprompted. The energy rises on the news, not on the defense of the news. This desk is not a voice stress lab and won't pretend to be. That's a pattern read off a circulating clip. But paired with the structural analysis from earlier, the statement built as a rebuttal with a love letter attached, the audio texture points the same direction as the text architecture. Two independent lenses, same silhouette. When that happens on this desk, we don't call it proof. We call it worth saying out loud, with the T attached, so you can weigh it yourself. And one magnifier that almost didn't make the script because it felt too small. Then it kept nagging, so here it is. In the stupid-ass dumbass exchange, count the laughs. She laughs twice. He doesn't laugh once. He delivers the line, watches it land, and lets her laughter carry the moment. In comedy terms, he's not in the bit, he's producing the bit, and her laugh is the soundtrack that makes it playable. That asymmetry, one person supplying material, the other supplying the reaction that makes the material safe to publish, is the exact division of labor the whole household runs on, compressed into 8 seconds. He generates the content. She generates the consent. The audience generates the money. It's the entire circuit, in miniature, hiding inside a joke. Maybe that's reading too much into 2 laughs. Honestly, maybe it is. But the reads that feel like too much are usually the ones that survive the next chapter, so it's going in the folder. How different rooms are framing the same tape. Complex is playing the whole thing as a Rapper in Chaos ongoing series, treating each new clip as a chapter, refusing to declare a winner or loser. That's a smart engagement play, keep the reader coming back, but it launders the seriousness out. The Shade Room is running it as pure drama, comments first, no context, no history. That's the room that made Superior Wet Willy a trending phrase by 6 p.m. the day the clip dropped. XXL barely touched it, one aggregation post, no analysis, on to the next story. That's a tell about what mainstream hip-hop press thinks this arc is worth as a music story, which is not much. And then there's the fan camp read on X, which is split hard between Team Nevaeh, Team Jaidyn, and a growing team neither that's clocking the pattern and stepping back. That third camp is the one that's actually reading the paper. That's the room to sit in. 2 more rooms deserve a walkthrough, because they cover the flanks the original film missed. First, TMZ. TMZ's framing of this arc is worth isolating because TMZ doesn't do chaos as entertainment and doesn't do drama as comments. TMZ does documentation as product. Their late July piece on Blueface comments about Nevaeh's pregnancy is built like a wire item. What he said, where he said it, minimal garnish. Watch what that verb choice does. Where the Shade Room asks, can you believe this? TMZ asks, are you aware of this? And are you aware is the framing that ages into the permanent record. 6 months from now, when some future chapter of this arc needs a citation, the Shade Room post will be a vibe and the TMZ item will be a sauce. That's not an accident. That's TMZ's whole institutional strategy, and it means the most consequential coverage of this household is the least entertaining coverage of this household. The room that treats it most like paper is the room the paper will treat most kindly. Remember that when we talk about which framings survive. Second, the local Las Vegas press, News 3 LV, 8 News Now, the rooms nobody in hip-hop media watches, which is exactly why they matter. Those outlets have been covering Porter the whole time, but not as a rapper, as a court docket. Their Blueface doesn't have a girlfriend situation or trending clip. Their Blueface has a plea agreement, a suspended sentence, a parole-eligible date. 2 parallel coverage tracks of the same man, running for years, almost never intersecting. The music internet tracks the household, the local press tracks the case number. The day those 2 tracks intersect is the day this stops being content. Nobody in either track seems to be pricing in the other one. That's the widest blind spot in the entire coverage map, and it's hiding in plain sight because the audiences don't overlap. Until they do. Now the news Steelman, because the comments are already loading it. And this one comes in through a headline, not an imagined commenter. The fan camp talking point that Nevaeh is the problem, that she walked into a documented situation with documented eyes wide open, that the voice note proves she knows exactly what she's doing, so the sympathy budget should be 0. Take it seriously for a beat, because pieces of it are real. The I'm staying statement is genuinely hers. Nobody scripted it into her mouth. Though if I'm slow, I'm the slowest echo is genuinely her smiling. If agency is the question, the paper shows agency. Full respect to that read. Now take it apart with the folder. The September grade problem with the HotNew frame is that knowing and controlling are different currencies. Go back to the statement's architecture, built as a rebuttal, ranked by the comment section's priorities, energy rising on the defense. That's not the document of a person running the situation. That's the document of a person managing the situation's weather. Go back to the two-laugh asymmetry. She supplies the consent soundtrack, he supplies the material, and the bit doesn't work if she stops laughing. A participant with real leverage doesn't need to publish a defense of her own relationship to strangers while the father of her imminent child sits 3 feet away performing contempt as content. She knew what she signed up for answers a question nobody asked. The question the paper actually raises is what her options look like from the inside at 9 months in a household where leaving is also a broadcast. The Steelman isn't wrong that she has agency. It's wrong about what agency at this altitude actually buys. Now the take. The one the algorithm doesn't want on page 1. The center of gravity in this whole story isn't Blueface. It never was. Blueface is a fixed variable. He behaves the way he behaves. He says the things he says. He laughs at the wet willy. He calls his pregnant girlfriend stupid as dumbass on camera. And that's the man both of these women signed up to publish alongside. The variable that actually moves the story is which woman is currently accepting the terms of that publication contract most enthusiastically. Right now, that's Nevaeh. She's the one on the voice note declaring she's staying. She's the one absorbing the language and repeating it back. She's the one whose son is on camera performing behaviors he learned from proximity. That's the current billboard. And the fixed variable framing deserves reinforcement from the legal layer, because the courts have been running the same red for 3 years. The 2023 probation sentence, the suspended 2 to 5 hanging over every clip, is the system's version of the same sentence this desk just wrote. The man is a known quantity. The quantity is priced. The pricing is suspended over his head pending behavior. The judge didn't try to change him. The judge priced him. That's what fixed variables get in every system, court or content. The variables that move are always the people orbiting the fixed point, adjusting their trajectories, deciding how much gravity to accept. Nevaeh is adjusting hairs in real time, on camera, at 9 months. Jaidyn adjusted hairs years ago and is still feeling the pull from across town. Same star, different orbits, and the star doesn't move for anybody. It never has. Check the rotation history. Every previous main described her own version of the same fixed point. Jaidyn, in this arc, is the one at the window looking in. And the Cardi lip sync isn't a beef opener. It's a reminder. It's a don't forget I was here first. Don't forget who has the kids. Don't forget who the original portrait was for reminder. That's why she didn't know the words. She wasn't dissing Nevaeh. She was flagging herself. She was saying, I'm still here. Look at me. I still exist in this frame. And in the economy of this specific household, being remembered is the currency. Getting reacted to is the flex. She got reacted to. Mission technically accomplished. The wild card, and this is the one nobody's pricing in, is Carlissa. Blueface mother has historically been the variable that scrambles the household chemistry, and her posting patterns during previous pregnancies, documented in real time by all hip-hop, show a consistent behavior. Silence for the first trimester, escalating engagement in the third, and a signature move within 10 days of the birth. Don't be surprised if the story that ends up dominating the second week of the cycle isn't Blueface, isn't Nevaeh, isn't Jaidyn. It's Carlissa dropping something that reframes the whole household. Watch for it. If it drops, you saw it here first. Grade the Carlissa file with fresh eyes because it's stronger than the original script presented and the added grade matters. The documented record. She's a consistent public participant in her son's arc. The 10-minute response video after he accused her of sabotaging his relationships made the Shade Room's Facebook feed. Her account has been a running channel for family business, including DM exchanges with other figures in the orbit. She's not a background relative. She's a broadcaster with her own audience and her own incentives. And this is the part the wildcard paragraph undersold. Her incentives are not aligned with the household's content economy. She doesn't need the fixed points heat. She manufactures her own. That independence is precisely what makes her the destabilizer. Every other adult in the frame is orbiting, but Carlissa has her own gravity, and two gravities in one system is how orbits break. Once the birth lands, watch how fast the first as his mother, I stayed quiet long enough post arrives. The specific claim inside it doesn't even matter. The move itself, grandmother-coded authority, deployed into the content vacuum of the soft era, is the signature, and it's been rehearsed across multiple prior cycles. Don't be shocked when the second week of the baby's life belongs to her channel instead of theirs. The residue, the part that outlasts the news cycle, is superior. He is 4. He is going to grow up. And the clips of him on this couch, in this house, learning this vocabulary, are permanent. 10 years from now, when he is 14 and the algorithm surfaces this era back to him unprompted, he is going to have a reckoning with what got broadcast on his behalf during a period he was too young to consent to. That's the real cost being underwritten right now, and none of the adults in the frame are pricing it in. That's the long tail. That's what will still be sitting on the shelf when the household configuration has moved on 3 cycles from here. One more layer on the residue, and then this desk will let it breathe. Because there's a version of the long tail nobody prices, and it's the mirror image of the permanence problem. The clips are forever, yes, but the context around the clips is already decaying. 10 years from now, the Wet Willy video will still play, but the probation record, the roster comment, the delivery window timing, the whole paper trail that lets a future viewer understand what they were looking at will be scattered across dead links, deleted accounts, and outlets that no longer exist. What survives is the spectacle, what evaporates is the circumstance. So the 14-year-old version of that child won't just inherit the footage, he'll inherit the footage stripped of every fact that would let him grade it. The internet keeps the wound and deletes the chart. That's the aftershock inside the aftershock, and there's no fixing it from here, because the deletion has already started. Try finding the before pictures today. The prediction we're planting a flag on. Within 60 days of the baby's arrival, there will be a public household incident, not a violent one, we're not predicting that, but a public one, that generates a "we told you" comment section under this exact clip. And when that happens, this art pivots from Nevaeh's declaration to Nevaeh's revision. That's the falsifiable one. Come back and check it. We said at the top there was a part nobody was noticing yet, a piece that connects this whole thing to something older. Here it is. The Wet Willy isn't the first time Superior has performed a behavior he didn't originate. Scroll back through Nevaeh's own posted archive from before Blueface, and the register on that child was different. The vocabulary was different. The escalation rewarded with tickling loop wasn't there. Something in the last stretch changed him fast, and the paper on that isn't spin, it's just the tape sitting next to older tape. That was the loop we opened. That's the loop we're closing. That's the case. That's the paper. Read it however you want to read it. But read it, don't just react to it. Drop where you land in the comments. We're actually reading them tonight. The whole team is. Hit the like, ride the bell, and if you got a receipt on the Carlissa timing prediction, tag it under this one so we can find it when the next chapter breaks. Rap and Receipts got 2 more cases stacked for this week, and one of them is going to answer a question a lot of you have been asking since the summer. Lock in. Court's adjourned.